So, here we are in Freehold in Tiragarde Sound. This is actually a very easy to structure video. Why? Well, because we're in Freehold. It's pretty awesome. It's just over here. And we're going to make our way around this zone. And then we're going to finish it up over at Borealis. And we're going to cut it so that it'll be nice, quick to watch, and of course, completely spoiler-free. So, this is Freehold. It's a pirate city. And you know what? It's pretty damn awesome. It's an entirely different feel to pretty much the rest of what you see going around in this zone. And what's actually really nice is how they deal with verticality. So you're constantly going around gangplanks, going up and down around the place. It's quite a richly designed area that has a lot of detail, and the attention to detail is generally something that you really do notice when you look around Battle for Azeroth. Especially in terms of like the NPCs and the settlements. It does seem like what Blizzard learned from Suramar in terms of making a place, well, feel like a real place. It seems like they are actually applying those learnings, which is certainly pretty damn cool to see. So, there you go. That is a brief little run around the pretty damn awesome looking pirate city of Freehold. Now, of course, this is the uninstanced version. Eventually, you do end up going here in a dungeon, but yeah, again, no spoilers. So broadly speaking, this is one of the more sort of close-up areas. Now, I'm not saying this feels like Nazmir in terms of it being a swamp that's all enveloping around you, but, you know, it's a little bit more tight and condensed, so it does feel a little bit closer to some of the Legion leveling zones, I suppose. But what's nice about Tiragarde Sound, and, you know, you'll see this in a bit, is that there is quite a bit of variation in the feel of this zone, which, again, has been a little bit of a sort of a repeating sort of theme. So, that was Freehold, big pirate area. Now, as we move down here, we get to sort of a castaway part, right? So there's a ship that's ran aground, there's a bunch of pirate types going on, some sirens, and you know, it's pretty cool looking, but that said, it's definitely more of a gloomy, moody sort of area, so it's not exactly the thing that feels amazing whenever I'm doing it in a video, but, you know, when you're actually running around it, it works because it's immersive and it kind of hems you in. And in this video, I do have one or two little discussion topics that I want to cover because they're very tightly related. One of them is just responding to some of Preach's thoughts on the levels and explaining what these videos actually are, because there's been a bit of confusion, and then also talking about the sense of scale and how some of the things that we saw in Drustvar are once again used pretty damn well here. So as much as this swampy Castaway Cove area is quite atmospheric, let's go into the main area of the zone, because it has a very different feel. And this harkens back to one of the things I was talking about in the Drustvar video, and that is that each zone, and actually the Nazmir video as well, each zone in Battle for Azeroth does actually manage to have a lot of very different feeling areas, such that it's one zone that kind of feels like a few ones stitched together. And as we covered in the Size of Battle for Azeroth video, where I looked at the minimap data and tried to work out how large this expansion was, well, the zones themselves are actually bloody humongous when you kind of get down to it. So, we've just emerged out here, and this is a kind of like a mountainous, foresty region that's pretty damn cool. And over there, you can see the city of Borealis, but we're not going to drop over there yet. We're going to take a left and just run through a little bit more here. And one of the things that I really want to talk about in this video that I mentioned in the Drustvar one, but I think it really struck me here, is how amazing the sense of scale is in this expansion, and how that tends to be combined with really some level design that feels, I don't want to say realistic, because it obviously is quite theme parky, but it's less annoying than the layout of some of the Legion zones. I've generally found that navigating through this zone has been a pleasure, and I don't mean that in terms of, oh, Blizzard have made it easy and boring. No, I mean it feels like a place, and your normal intuitions when it comes to traveling around a zone very much do map onto this area, which is very good. It just makes it feel playable. You don't really have to yeah, you're just kind of, you're running on what you already know, being a human who navigates places normally, which for this type of game and for making, sort of selling a sense of place, I think is quite a good thing. Now, the sense of scale is also pretty awesome because, well, man, the view distances, right? Like, the view distances since Legion have been great, but it's fair to say that World of Warcraft Legion's zones were not really designed with that amazing view distance in mind. They rarely offer a sweeping vista that is, you know, that's really, really far away. Whereas if you look here, you can see the mountains of Stormsong, the mountains of Drustvar, you can see these big mountains over here, and in between those mountains and large features, I don't want to say there's flat open terrain, because there obviously isn't, but it is detailed terrain, but what you do see is sort of just big expanses, valleys, hills, rolling hills, all that stuff. And what that means is that when you're running around the place, your navigation is pretty much always based off landmarks that you can see. And that means that it just feels very natural to get around. And I think that really is a strong part of giving a sense of place. And I know that saying a sense of place, that's a very strange sentence, right? But I think you guys kind of know what I mean when I say that. One thing that I do want to quickly mention is a topic that was brought up by Preach probably a few weeks ago when he did his video that was about essentially his impressions. And a lot of his impressions of the story zones and stuff like that came down to him really thinking, and I agree with this, that Zandalar's got a very immediate, bombastic story that hits you in the face and it keeps on going. And it's pretty damn hype, to be honest. And a lot of people sort of thought that my previous 2 zone videos were actually critiques of the storytelling and all of that stuff. My thoughts overall on the zone quality in terms of questing, that will come in a bit. Of course, this really is a game design video and appreciating what Blizzard's art team are doing. I think it's easy to criticize the World of Warcraft team for a lot of things. But the one thing it's pretty damn impossible to criticize them for, not impossible, but it's pretty tricky to criticize them for, is the quality of the worlds that they build. But anyway, let's leave that slightly spoilery sort of warlike area and move on through, once again, these beautiful, beautiful serene forests. We've got some lovely ambient sound effects going on with the wind. Of course, I'm very much a fan of that. And as we keep on running here, oh, what's that? We see Borealis be revealed. So one of the nice things here is, you're doing questing, and as I said, there's just landmarks everywhere and lots of wide open space in between them, and it just feels so immersive, like you truly are in another world, or, something like that. We've got a little Kul'tiran settlement here. Once again, we see they have a lot of sort of boats in the designs of their buildings, something that I think is pretty rad. But let's keep on going up this hill so I can give you a little bit of a better view of what's going on. It's interesting, like, I think for the people who love kind of rugged nature, this is going to be a big win. Now, for me, I love places like Iceland, and even Yosemite National Park, loved my time there, so this is, I totally admit, I am biased towards stuff that looks like this, and it absolutely is like scratching an itch, so to speak. But anyway, let's leave some of that nature stuff and head down into the Kul'tiran settlements and all these sort of cool little areas. First of all, yeah, we got some lovely waterfalls off there. And yeah, so we're moving in here, and again, I don't want to cover story stuff that's going on here. Suffice to say, it's actually a neat little bit of storytelling and sort of some fun little themes, I suppose. It's a sort of a conspiracy-like plot line that you sort of uncover, and I think it's pretty damn cool, just visually as well. Very rich, I suppose, that in terms of the color palette and all of that stuff, which I like and find very immersive and homely, and yeah, yum. Let's hop in this griffin, though, because you know what? This griffin is a lot faster than my crane. I figure this is a pretty efficient way to actually give you a great look at the city of Borealis overall. It's really came along a lot since I actually did the preview of it. They've put in a lot of NPCs in most areas of the city, so it really is it's got a lot of hustle and bustle and life, which is really nice to see. It definitely feels like a step above what we saw in Suramar in terms of feeling like a living, breathing place. And I suppose a part of the reason for that's because it doesn't have the same sort of hostile combat gameplay requirements that somewhere like Suramar would have actually had. Of course, though, right now, this is obviously one of the more sparse areas of the city, but we're going to jump ahead to a more interesting part. And here we are. Yeah, I think you can see there's a lot more detail here. It's really rich and sort of densely packed and full of life, which is pretty awesome. And actually on Wowhead, that man just threw a fish at me. What a dickhead. It wasn't a man, it was a woman. Anyway, right. Wowhead covered that a lot of the NPCs in here actually have different locations and behaviors depending on whether it's day or night. Which, okay, is that massive and gameplay changing? No, not at all. Is it a nice little thing that makes the world feel more rich and detailed? Yes, therefore I think it's pretty welcome. So we're now exiting Borealis, and we're just going to take a little bit of a look at the rest of Tiragarde Sound. So just behind me, you can see some of the more industrial themes of this zone that all ties into the storyline, and it actually does create. I think it creates this nice little clash between the nature being beautiful and sort of industry marching in, which is quite effective for the zone. And then when we just get over here, you get some really, really lovely views of this whole valley area. Just kind of nice because it brings in a little bit more of a warm color tone in places. But the real thing that we're going to be doing is heading over to the estate, which you can just see in the distance. And here we are at the estate. First of all, you've got some really nice like waterfalls and sort of ice and stuff going on in the mountains. But as for the actual estate itself, it's pretty cool. I love how the architecture does a great job of blending in with the surroundings. And here there is actually a horse pageant, sort of horse show mini game that you can take part in, which is a nice little feature, sort of like an extra little bit of gameplay to make the zone feel unique. It doesn't exactly remind me of something like the Plants vs. Zombies thing that they did, but sometimes having little things like that, they do add like a bit of flavor to a zone that I think people really do appreciate. And even as we get higher up here, you again just see beautiful expansive views. One of the great things is, let's just say you're questing in High Mountain. Well, you're probably not going to see much of Val'Shrar or Stormheim unless you're on the outsides. Well, the layout of these zones for this expansion means that, assuming you haven't stuck your camera in a tree, as if you're some sort of complete idiot, like me, come on, there we go. It means that, I'm questing around in Tiragarde Sound, but I can see Drustvar, and I can see Borealis, and all of that, which is pretty damn effective. But yeah, I thought this would be a decently picturesque little place to finish off this video and give you a nice big look at really just the zone overall. I've had quite a lot of fun in here, and definitely the environment design has been a part of that. And I also feel here that my, me putting a little bit more money into a ultra-wide monitor, it really does pay off, having that cinematic aspect ratio when you've got such a beautiful, wide open, and really quite real-feeling world to run about in. I think that is the main achievement of Kul'tiras. So, there you go. That is Tiragarde Sound on the World of Warcraft Battle for Azeroth Alpha. A humongous thank you to everyone over on Patreon. Their guidance and support has been absolutely instrumental in the channel over the last while. We've got a full-time video editor now, which has been really awesome. And over there is early access to non-news types of content. There is vlogs, behind the scenes, and all that good stuff. So if you want to check that out, you can head up the Patreon link in the description. But other than that, thank you very much for watching this video, and I will see you next time.